Hello class, we're going to be continuing working with our personal narrative stories today. Now, I know we've all been working on in class on writing our rough drafts, and most of us are finished with writing our body paragraphs, so I thought it would be best if we could work on enhancing our writing by learning about dialogue. I'm very excited to do this, and I hope you are too. So, the first thing with dialogue, we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? This is a great question for us to ask because it allows us to think about why we include dialogue in a story. Some really good reasons as to why we include dialogue include enhancing the reader's understanding of our story. And how would something like that happen? It helps bring the story to life, and it shows progression in the story. So it enhances our understanding of what we are reading. And as I just said, brings the story to life. A story that has a lot of dialogue in it is a lot more animated, and it has a lot more little oomph, I guess is the best way to put it. And it makes it a lot more exciting. If you can tell that a person is super excited as you are reading about what's happening to them, then you, as the reader, will become more excited too as well. Another reason we use dialogue is to further the story. Dialogue's all about progressing. Instead of just saying, then we did this, and then this person thought about doing this in our stories, we can say something along the lines of, and then I asked if we could go and do this activity. Or since we're writing about our stories on summer vacations, then we can say, and then I asked if we could go to the beach this day. Something like that. It helps to further our story. It makes it a lot more interesting for us. So I have decided that I will use one of the body paragraphs that I have written for my story to help us learn a bit about why we use dialogue and how to best use it. So here's my story right here. I'm going to move this to the side right here so we can see our purpose for dialogue and so that we can see the story I have created and see if we can add dialogue to our story to make it that much better. So I wrote, on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad if we could go crawdad fishing. Now, if you remember correctly, we were focusing on, at least in my story, we were focusing on a trip that I took when I was younger to Lake Tahoe with my family. And I said, on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad if we could go crawdad fishing. Now, let's think to ourselves, do you think there's a way that we can enhance the way we write our stories with dialogue here? Let's just focus on these first few sentences right here. So on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad if we could go crawdad fishing. We gathered our gear and headed down to the old sturdy dock down by the lake. Wow, this is very interesting, and it tells exactly to our reader what they're doing. I think there's a better way we can put some dialogue in here. Let's focus on this first sentence. It says, on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad if we could go crawdad fishing. Right here, I think, is a great opportunity for us to put in a little bit of dialogue. So maybe instead of saying, on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad if we could go crawdad fishing, I could actually put the words that I'm saying into my story. So on the second day of my vacation, I asked my dad, comma, parentheses, just as we've been learning about in dialogue, if you're going to be introducing some dialogue, you need to put the comma and then put the parentheses to show you're starting to show the dialogue in your story. So I asked my dad, Dad, exclamation mark, because I was super excited, Dad, can we go crawdad fishing? And remember, we have to remember proper punctuation when we are writing. So I'm asking a question. Can we go crawdad fishing? It's never good when You spelled crawdad wrong. Crawdad fishing. Question mark. And then I can eliminate this part right here. And I already have some dialogue right here. I asked my dad if can we go crawdad fishing? Now, I think it would be great if we could do a little bit of dialogue back and forth and have show us what it looks like to have dialogue back and forth. So now I'm not playing just the character of me asking my dad if we can go crawdad fishing. I can actually use dialogue to show a response on another character in my story. So on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad, can we go crawdad fishing? Question mark. My dad, so now we're going to play the part of my dad, and he's going to actually have something. My dad exclaimed, because he was super excited as well. He loves crawdad fishing. My dad exclaimed, yes, I think this is the perfect time for us to go fishing. And then I can continue onward by saying so on and so forth. But so far, our story's already been enhanced. It says, on the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad, Dad, can we go crawdad fishing? My dad exclaimed, yes, I think this is the perfect time for us to go fishing. This shows us what the characters are doing. They're interacting with each other and making our story much more exciting. So is it enhancing our understanding of the story? Yes, it definitely is. Is it bringing the story to life? Yes, when you add punctuation, when you add dialogue, it makes the story sound a lot more exciting and interesting to us. And is it furthering our story? Yeah, it's telling us what we're probably going to do. If I'm asking my dad a question in dialogue and he's responding that we're going to do this, then our story's continuing moving forward. So next it says, we gathered our gear and headed down to the old sturdy dock down by the lake. I think this one's pretty good. I don't see any reason for us to add some dialogue into here. Let's keep reading and see if we can find another place to put some dialogue. It was a cool summer evening, but there was a warm breeze in the air. This would actually be a really interesting time if I could maybe use some dialogue just to show the type of conversations I might be having with my dad during this time. So it was a cool summer evening, but there was a warm breeze in the air. A lot of the time when we're talking with people, we usually make things called small talk, and that includes a lot of dialogue. So maybe I could use some small talk right here. Maybe like I could say something, boy, comma, it's a beautiful, because beautiful is one of our really good describing words, and I think it would really enhance our dialogue and our writing in something that we're trying to do as strong writers. Boy, it's a beautiful evening. I announced as we walked down to the lake. Okay, I'm still progressing the story. I'm adding some dialogue, describing the evening with this dialogue. So it says, boy, it's a beautiful evening, I announced as we walked down to the lake. Like, this is great. I'm really excited. It's a really nice evening out. We're going to the lake. The story continues to move. So we get down to the lake, and we look. I got out my tools. In this case, a long piece of string and a frozen hot dog. The perfect duo to catch crawdads. So, fun fact, catching crawdads, you use a frozen hot dog and string. I'm not 100% sure why, but it's an old trick that still works, and you can catch many crawdads. So continuing on with our story. I got out my tools, a long piece of string, and a frozen hot dog, the perfect duo to catch crawdads. The next sentence says, the hot dogs are still frozen, so I had to let them thaw a little before I tied the string around it. I know that the hot dogs are frozen, and I know that they're cold, but I think we could add a lot more exciting dialogue in here to really show how we are feeling, as at least get the reader involved in the story. Like, boy, how cold was the hot dog? What did it feel like? Okay, let's see if we can use dialogue to enhance this. So, the hot dogs are still frozen, so I had to let them thaw a little before I tied a string around it. What if I talked about how I really felt when I was touching the hot dogs? The What if I said the hot dogs were still frozen? So when I picked one up, I shouted, "Yikes! That's a really cold hot dog." Okay, yikes, that was a really cold hot dog. I think that is a great way to show how I was feeling when I touched the hot dog. In fact, I can even add a little more detail in here and said, the hot dogs are still frozen, so when I picked one up, I shouted, "Yikes, that's a really cold hot dog." And I dropped the hot dog on the ground. Like, you know, sometimes when you touch something that's so cold, like a piece of ice or anything like that, it is so cold, you just go, "Ah!" Drop it, boom, hits the ground. Like, I'm bringing the story to life using my dialogue right here. Is it enhancing our understanding of the story? Yeah. Is it making it a lot more exciting for the readers? Yes. We are explaining the purpose of dialogue right here. So let's see if I can add anything else. So I had to let them thaw a little before I tied a string around it. Let's clean this up a little bit so we know what we're talking. The hot dogs were so cold that I had to let them thaw a little before I tied a string around them. Let's see, and then it says, fishing line in hand, I climbed on the slippery sand, covered sharp rocks nearby to get into prime fishing position. Now, I think this is really interesting, but I want to see if we can use dialogue to portray what a character is thinking. Let's see. Fishing line in hand, I climbed on the slippery sand, covered sharp rocks nearby to get into prime fishing position. What if I said something towards the end here and said, I really hope I can catch a lot of crawdads over here, I thought to myself. So it says, I really hope I can catch a lot of crawdads over here, I thought to myself. What a great way to show what the character's thinking while at the same time adding some more details and progressing our story using dialogue. So let's read our whole paragraph and see if it has gotten a lot better. On the second day of our vacation, I asked my dad, "Dad, can we go crawdad fishing?" My dad exclaimed, "Yes, I think this is the perfect time for us to go fishing." We gathered our gear and headed down to the old sturdy dock down by the lake. It was a cool summer evening, but there was a warm breeze in the air. "Boy, it's a beautiful evening," I announced as we walked down to the lake. I got out my tools, a long piece of string and a frozen hot dog, the perfect duo to catch crawdads. The hot dogs were still frozen, so when I picked one up, I shouted, "Yikes! That's a really cold hot dog," and I dropped the hot dog on the ground. The hot dogs were so cold that I had to let them thaw a little before I tied the string around them. Fishing line in hand, I climbed on the slippery sand, the sand-covered sharp rocks nearby to get into prime fishing position. I really hope I can catch a lot of crawdads over here, I thought to myself. Okay, looking back on this right here, we can see that our story, is it come to life more when we use dialogue? Yes, including dialogue really enhanced our understanding of the story. It showed what each character was thinking, each one was doing, and each one was talking about. Does it bring the story to life? Yeah, it makes it a lot more exciting when you have dialogue. Dialogue includes a lot of punctuation, a lot of great describing words. Definitely enhances the reader's story by bringing it to life. And does it further the story? Yes, it definitely shows progression as we are going along. It tells what the characters are doing and how they are reacting to each situation. Now, I would like for you to use your body paragraphs to go back and review them and see if you can find any places where you can use dialogue to enhance your reader's understanding and bring it to life or even further the story. Okay? And I will look forward to reading your edits in the next few days as you continue to work on your stories. Okay? Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, I am always available to help.